I paid her $180,000 debt on Tuesday. On Friday, she served me divorce papers, 72 hours. That's exactly how long it took for my wife to go from, "You're my savior, Alex," to, "I think we've grown apart." 72 hours. I was still seeing spots from the flash of the camera at her partner's celebration dinner. I was still feeling the warmth of her hand squeezing mine when she stood up to accept her position as the youngest junior partner at Sterling and Vance. And I was definitely still feeling the phantom weight of the $180,000 check I'd signed over to cover her buy-in and the last massive chunk of her student loans. I emptied my savings. I sold the classic '69 Mustang I'd spent 5 years restoring with my dad before he passed. I liquidated the emergency fund for my construction business. Why? Because we were a team. That's what she told me. "It's an investment in us, Alex. Once I'm a partner, we'll be making 7 figures. You can retire. You can open that custom furniture shop you always wanted." Yeah, right. I walked into the kitchen on Friday night, holding 2 bags of Thai takeout, her favorite, Pad See Ew, extra spicy. I kicked the door shut with my heel, expecting to see her on the couch, maybe watching one of those mindless reality shows she used to decompress with. Instead, Natalie was sitting at the kitchen island. No TV, no wine, just her, wearing her courtroom armor, the charcoal power suit she only wore when she was going for the throat, and a manila envelope. The smell of takeout noodles suddenly made me nauseous. I knew that look. I'd seen her practice it in the mirror before big cases. It was the look of someone who had already won and was just waiting for the loser to realize it. "We need to talk, Alex." Not "hi," not "how was your day?" I dropped the food on the counter. The plastic thudded heavily in the silence. "Okay, talk." She slid the envelope across the marble island. I installed that island. I cut the slab myself, sanded the edges until they were smooth as glass. I remembered her sitting on it, drinking coffee, watching me work, telling me how sexy I looked covered in sawdust. "I filed this morning," she said. Her voice was steady, surgical. "It's irreconcilable differences. I'm not asking for alimony. I just want a clean break." I stared at the envelope. I didn't touch it. "A clean break," I repeated. My voice sounded weirdly calm, like it was coming from someone else in the room. "We just celebrated your partnership 3 days ago, Nat. I just wired the money on Tuesday." She didn't flinch. She actually checked her watch, a Cartier tank I bought her for her 30th birthday. "The money was a gift, Alex, legally speaking. We can discuss repayment terms if you want to be petty about it, but my lawyer advises against it since commingled assets are tricky." "Petty?" I felt a laugh bubbling up in my chest, hot and acidic. "Petty? I sold my dad's car, Natalie. I emptied the business accounts. You looked me in the eye on Tuesday night, clinked a glass of champagne with me, and said, 'To our future.' Was the paperwork already in your briefcase then?" She sighed. It was a loud, exasperated noise, like I was a slow waiter explaining why the kitchen was out of soup. "Don't be dramatic. Tuesday was about the firm. It was about my career. I couldn't have you causing a scene or looking sullen while I was trying to secure my buy-in. I needed the capital, and frankly, I needed the support system to look stable for the senior partners. But let's be real, Alex. Look at us." She gestured between us. I was in my work boots, jeans stained with drywall dust, a flannel shirt. She was polished, sharp, expensive. "We don't make sense anymore," she continued, her tone softening into this patronizing, "I'm doing this for your own good" voice. You're a builder, a contractor. I'm handling international corporate litigation. When I bring colleagues home, I panic that you'll talk about, I don't know, lumber prices. It's embarrassing. I've outgrown this. I've outgrown us." The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush bones. I looked at her, really looked at her. For 7 years, I had worked 6 days a week. I had come home with aching back muscles and blistered hands, cooking dinner because she was studying until 2 in the morning. I paid the rent on our crappy first apartment so she didn't have to work during law school. I paid for the bar exam prep. I paid for the suits. I wasn't just a husband. I was the foundation she stood on. And now that she was tall enough to reach the top shelf, she was kicking the ladder away. "You've outgrown us," I said quietly. "Yes. And I want this done quickly. I've prepared a settlement. You keep the truck and your tools. I keep the house. It fits my image better. And honestly, you can't afford the mortgage on your own anymore. Not after, well, the transfer." She smirked, a tiny, almost imperceptible twitch of the lips. She knew exactly what she had done. She had drained me dry so I couldn't fight her. I picked up the envelope. It felt heavy. "You're right," I said. Her eyebrows shot up. I am? Yeah. You are. We don't make sense anymore. I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I didn't throw the Thai food at her perfect silk blouse, even though every fiber of my being wanted to. I walked to the hallway closet, grabbed my duffel bag, the one I used for gym gear, and dumped the clothes out on the floor. I walked back to the bedroom. Alex, you don't have to leave tonight, she called out, sounding annoyed that I was disrupting her schedule. You can sleep in the guest room until you find a place. I'm not a monster. I ignored her. I swept my arm across the dresser, dumping my watch, my wallet, and the framed photo of us from our honeymoon into the bag. I went to the closet, grabbed a handful of shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, and my boots. I walked back out to the kitchen. She was typing on her phone now, probably texting the real reason she was leaving. You don't blow up a 7-year marriage on a Friday night, unless there's someone else waiting in the wings. I'm taking the truck, I said, and my tools. Fine. Just sign the papers, Alex. Make it easy on yourself. I pulled a pen from my pocket, a carpenter's pencil, actually. I grabbed a napkin from the takeout bag. I wrote, I will communicate only through my legal counsel. Do not contact me. I slapped the napkin on top of the envelope. I'm not signing anything without a lawyer, Natalie. You're a partner now? Congratulations. You just made the biggest mistake of your career. Is that a threat? She laughed, a cold, sharp sound. You can't afford a lawyer, Alex. You gave me all your money. I stopped at the door. I looked back at the kitchen I built, the woman I built. You're right. I gave you everything, which means I have nothing left to lose. And that makes me the most dangerous person in your life right now. I slammed the door. I slept in my truck that night. I parked in the lot of my workshop, a drafty rented warehouse space where I kept my larger equipment. It was freezing. My neck cramped. I woke up at 4 a.m. with a mouth that tasted like old pennies and a heart that felt like it had been run through a wood chipper. But by the time the sun came up, the shock was gone. The rage was gone. What was left was a cold, hard clarity. She thought I was just a builder. She thought I was some simpleton who moved heavy things for a living. She forgot that I ran a business. She forgot that I negotiated contracts with suppliers who would cut your throat for a 2% margin. She forgot that before I met her, I was on track to clear $500,000 a year before I scaled back to support her dreams. She wanted a war. She was going to get a master class. I didn't hire a lawyer immediately. I couldn't afford a shark. So I called Marcus. Marcus wasn't a divorce attorney. He was a corporate contract killer. I'd done a massive renovation for 2 years ago. I'd installed a custom mahogany library in his penthouse, and he'd told me, Alex, if you ever need a favor, you call me. You're the only contractor in this city who didn't try to screw me. I met Marcus at a diner at 7 a.m. I looked like hell. He looked like a GQ cover. I told him everything, the timeline, the $180,000 transfer on Tuesday, the papers on Friday. Marcus listened, eating his eggs, not saying a word. When I finished, he wiped his mouth and smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. She's a junior partner at Sterling and Vance, Marcus asked. Yeah. And she used marital funds, your funds, to secure her equity buy-in? Yes. And she filed for divorce 3 days later? Yes. Marcus laughed. Oh, Alex, she's not smart. She's arrogant. There's a difference. In this state, that buy-in is a marital asset. If she bought it while you were married, you own half of her partnership interest. Or, at the very least, you have a claim to it. I don't want her partnership, I spat. I want my money back. I want my dad's car back. No, Marcus said, leaning in. You don't want the money back. You want leverage. If we claim a stake in her partnership equity, the senior partners at her firm will find out. They hate messy divorces. It makes the firm look unstable. If we subpoena her financial records and prove she acted in bad faith, fraudulently inducing you to transfer funds knowing she was going to file, she could lose her license, or at least her partnership. I felt a dark satisfaction settle in my chest. Do it. The next 3 months were a blur of work and legal warfare. I moved into a small studio apartment above my workshop. I worked 18-hour days. I stopped taking small residential jobs. I focused entirely on commercial contracts, restaurants, boutique hotels, high stress, high margin. I needed cash. Natalie tried to play games. She locked me out of the bank accounts. She sent nasty emails about me harassing her by having my lawyer request standard documents. Then we dropped the bomb. Marcus filed a motion claiming fraud and seeking a forensic accounting of her finances, specifically regarding the partnership buy-in. We subpoenaed Sterling and Vance. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was Natalie. Are you insane? She hissed. She didn't even say hello. You subpoenaed my firm? Do you know how embarrassing this is? The managing partner called me into his office this morning. I'm communicating through counsel, Natalie, I said, cradling the phone on my shoulder while I sanded a piece of reclaimed oak. Stop it. Drop the motion, Alex. You're going to ruin my career. You ruined my life on a Friday night over Thai food, Nat. I'm just balancing the books. You want a clean break? Write me a check for $300,000. That's the loan, plus interest, plus pain and suffering, plus my legal fees. I don't have $300,000 liquid. I just bought into the firm. Guess you better sell the house then. Or that Cartier watch. Or maybe ask your new boyfriend. Silence, then a sharp intake of breath. How did you... I'm a builder, Nat. I notice things. Like the fact that Stefan from your merger team has been parking his Porsche in my driveway overnight. I hung up. She settled 3 weeks later. She had to take a loan from the firm to pay me off, which apparently humiliated her in front of the senior partners. I got my $180,000 back, plus another $50,000 in equity from the house. I didn't buy the Mustang back. The guy I sold it to had already shipped it to Germany. That hurt. That hurt more than losing her. But I had capital. And I had anger. I took that $230,000 and I didn't buy a new car. I didn't go on a vacation. I reinvested every cent into Garrison Custom Build. I hired 3 crews. I bought a CNC machine. I started bidding on the jobs I used to think were out of my league. 2 years passed. I wasn't just a builder anymore. I was the builder. If you wanted a high-end restaurant built out in the city, you called me. If you wanted a tech CEO's modern farmhouse renovation, you got on my waiting list. I was making 3 times what Natalie made, even with her partnership. I bought a warehouse in the Arts District and converted the top floor into a loft that looked like something out of a magazine. Exposed brick, steel beams, floor-to-ceiling windows. I dated too, a few women here and there. But I was careful. I didn't pay anyone's debts. I didn't fix anyone's life. I was selfish with my time and my energy. One rainy Tuesday in November, I was on a job site, a new wine bar downtown. I was going over blueprints with the architect when I saw a figure standing near the temporary fencing. It was Natalie. She looked tired. The power suit was there, but it looked a little loose. Her hair was pulled back, but frizzy from the rain. She looked older. Harder. I handed my clipboard to the foreman. Give me a minute. I walked over to the fence. I didn't invite her in. Alex, she said. Her voice was thinner than I remembered. Natalie, you're trespassing. Hard hat area. She tried to smile, but it faltered. I saw your sign out front. Garrison Build. I heard you were doing well. I am. What do you want? She shifted her weight, hugging her expensive purse to her chest. Can we grab coffee? Just for 5 minutes? No. She flinched. Alex, please. I wanted to apologize. Properly. You apologized in the settlement agreement. My lawyer said the check cleared. That was apology enough. It's not about the money, she said, her voice cracking. I made a mistake, a huge one. I crossed my arms, leaning against a steel beam. Let me guess, Stefan didn't work out? She looked down at her heels, now muddy from the construction site. Stefan is a narcissist. He cheated on me with a paralegal 6 months in, and the firm. It's miserable, Alex. The pressure. They own me. I work 80 hours a week. I come home to that big empty house, and I hate it. I hate all of it. She looked up, her eyes wet. I miss you. I miss us. I miss coming home and smelling sawdust and dinner cooking. I miss having someone who actually gave a damn about me, not just my title. It was a good performance. Maybe she even meant it. But as I watched her crying in the rain, I waited for the old feeling to come back, the urge to fix it, the urge to hold her and tell her it would be okay. It didn't come. All I felt was relief. Relief that I wasn't the one waiting at home for her anymore. You don't miss me, Natalie, I said, my voice flat. You miss the safety net. You miss the fan club. You realize that being at the top is lonely and you want your cheerleader back. That's not true. I still love you. No, you don't. You love how I made you feel. There's a difference. I checked my watch. A Rolex Deep Sea. I bought it for myself the day I landed my first $1 million contract. I have to get back to work. We're pouring concrete in 10 minutes. Alex, please, don't walk away. We were married for 7 years. Doesn't that mean anything? I stopped and turned back. It meant everything to me, Nat. That's why I sold my dad's car. That's why I gave you everything I had. But to you, it was just a stepping stone. And you don't go back to the stepping stone once you've crossed the river. I can change. I'm different now. So am I. I said. I'm the guy who learned his lesson. I signaled to the security guard at the gate. He started walking over. Alex! She screamed, desperation creeping into her voice as the facade cracked completely. I'm lonely! I'm drowning in debt from the house! I need you! You're a partner, Natalie, I called out over my shoulder as I walked back toward the building. Figure it out. I didn't look back. I walked into the unfinished building, the smell of wet concrete and fresh lumber filling my lungs. It smelled like work. It smelled like honesty. It smelled like freedom. I found my foreman, who was watching the scene with raised eyebrows. Everything good, boss? He asked. I picked up the blueprints. I looked at the structure we were building, strong, solid, designed to last. Yeah,